Welcome to the Scoreboard Sports Podcast. I'm Connor Kendall, joined by Cameron Clark. Cam, we had a couple difficulties last week.
We did. Someone decided to go to Disneyland.
I did, sadly. Not sadly. I mean, it's the happiest place on earth, but
Yeah,
sadly because of the hotel Wi-Fi and the bad weather. But
I know. My connection wasn't too great back here either. We tried, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday last week.
it
We
was
tried to record
Tuesday, I think.
an
Yeah.
episode, and the connection just kept dropping. And so, nothing from last week. I mean, there wasn't that big of news. Like, there was no like free agency or anything happening with the NFL. But
No, thankfully
everyone,
it's very quiet. Yeah.
yes, very very quiet week. We'll touch on some of what we think are the biggest moves in free agency were later. But how's your day been? Anything exciting?
No, nothing much. I mean, just work, 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 work. I mean, we got a new sport coming into play, I guess
Yeah.
you can say, a little major. We'll touch on that a little later, but March Madness kicking off today. Uh, no, I mean, other than sports and work, not much.
Yeah, there you go. I've been up since 4 a.m. this morning. So I woke up to watch the Cubs Dodgers game, which was fun. But like you said, we'll touch more on that later. But we've got a good show lined up for today. It should be an exciting one.
No, you couldn't say it better, especially on the very quiet news side of things from the NFL.
Yeah,
It is not quiet. Everything went down, of course, the week that we could not get a show out, which is just, of course, that would happen.
yeah.
Out of everything that broke out last week, Cam, what is the biggest takeaway or most shocking thing that you saw?
Um, if we want to talk most shocking, for me, I think it's Sam Darnold to the Seahawks. I think it's kind of what the Seahawks did. You know, they trade. Did they trade DK Metcalf to the Steelers? I can't remember if they released. No, they traded him, and then they released
Yes.
TJ Lockett. I was actually really shocked by that. I thought, okay, well maybe there's something going on there. Maybe they're going into a rebuild. They just traded away, or they let Geno Smith walk. He wanted a ton of money. They just weren't willing to give him. But then they went up and signed Sam Darnold to a 3-year, $105 million deal. And then they signed Cooper Kupp to a 3-year, $45 million deal. So for the next 3 years, that offense of Sam Darnold and Cooper Kupp is going to be quite interesting. We talked about last time we had an episode just about how crazy things have been in the NFL West, right? We talked about Devontae Adams to the Rams. We talked about all these crazy things happening. It's going to be quite the division this next year. 49ers seem to kind of be falling behind a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny because we mentioned DK going to the Steelers. We mentioned Geno Smith going to the Raiders. And just thinking, what are the Seahawks' plans? I mean,
Yeah.
what is their game plan? And now we're seeing their game plan. It looks, as far as a quarterback standpoint, maybe going more. I wouldn't say long term because I feel like Geno Smith. Yeah, he has age isn't his friend per se, but he wasn't old. He wasn't Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers old. So to see them look for a franchise quarterback in Sam Darnold that has proven himself last season. He proved himself a little bit 2 seasons ago, which I think elevated him to get that to sign with the Vikings and ultimately win that starting position when JJ McCarthy went down. Um,
Which good for
I
him.
yeah
Like Sam Darnold was kind of just on like the bottom of the ladder, wasn't really doing too much. I mean, anyone that starts with the Jets, their career seems to kind of derail. We saw it with Zach, who signed with the Dolphins, which I'm actually really excited about.
yeah
We saw it with Sam Darnold. We
Gino
saw it with Geno Smith. We saw it. Mark Sanchez, like, kind of did all right with them. Aaron Rodgers just went there. His career kind of fell off the deep end. We'll maybe talk about where we think he might go. Yeah, Jets and quarterbacks just don't seem to be a good matchup. We'll see what Justin Fields can do out there.
I was gonna say, if you're Justin Fields, I mean, he's getting a paycheck. He's gonna be
Yeah.
playing football, which I'm sure it's what he wants more than anything. Are you scared that you're playing for the Jets?
The hard thing with the Jets is there's just no like protection, right? Their offensive line that they had is getting worse, right? They weren't able to re-sign Mekhi Becton. They weren't able to re-sign some of their other guys on the offensive line, and I mean everyone else around you seems to just be getting better. Like the Buffalo Bills signed Joey Bosa, so like that doesn't help. The defense, the Dolphins defense, their corners are pretty good, so you're gonna have trouble throwing there. I mean, the Patriots defense, I haven't really followed them too closely. They just signed another BYU guy in Kyrus Tonga to be their backup defensive tackle. But um, yeah, I mean, what was the deal? 2-3 year deal for like $40 million or something like that for Justin
Something
Fields.
along those lines.
It just, I don't know. It just seems like the Jets continue to find a temporary fix. They've got a new GM. They have a new head coach this year. So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, we'll see what happens with the Jets. Maybe I'll break out my Jets hat one of these days for the podcast.
Yeah. So he signed a $20 million deal. Can't see the years on that. It might just be a 1 year deal. I can't tell. But in terms of the significance of the Jets signing Fields, I don't think it's going to make any difference. I mean, they might win I want to say they won 2 games last year, but that can't be right. I think they might have won a little more.
No,
Maybe
yeah,
4. I don't think they're going to win any more than they did last season. It's also it's funny how Aaron Rodgers 2 seasons ago, they had the most bets to win the Super Bowl coming in.
Yeah. It's interesting. I want to see where Aaron Rodgers goes with kind of what happens with that team. I mean, obviously last year he tore his ACL or tore his Achilles, and this past year, the team went 5-12. But I want to see Aaron Rodgers kind of take an Albert Pujols with the Angels route, where I mean, obviously they signed Pujols to try and be like this big star, but what he ended up doing was mentoring Mike Trout. And that's just kind of how it ended up working for them. And so I wouldn't mind him. I mean, he's followed Brett Favre's career exactly so far, right? 15 years with the Packers, 2 years with the Jets, and who knows? Maybe he goes to the Vikings. Which I honestly wouldn't hate seeing him go to the Vikings and being a mentor for J.J. McCarthy, right? I want to see a starting quarterback battle between McCarthy and Rodgers, right? I want to see McCarthy prove that hey, I'm the real deal. Like, we just re-signed Aaron Jones, we have Justin Jefferson. We have some of these other good receivers. Like, if I'm going to hang around this team, I can't just be given the starting job. Like, I want to be able to compete for it. And let's say he doesn't get that starting job, then you have Aaron Rodgers, who's going to mentor you, and he's going to turn out to be really good starting quarterback in the future for the NFL.
That was the point I was going to make exactly. Is with Sam Darnold gone, there is no competition in that quarterback room, like significant competition. That's why I thought it was very strange that the Vikings let Darnold go, let him walk, and not extend him, sign him to a supermax, because their hopes is to have McCarthy as the face of the franchise, is what I'm guessing. Regardless if Sam was there or not, I'm sure he wouldn't have mind being the top paid backup to mentor McCarthy. But as well, I think it's good on him to go to the Seahawks, get the money that he has well deserved to get the Vikings into a spot where hopefully they can still compete next year, but to bring life back to the Seahawks organization that was on the cusp of making the playoffs last year. And they lost, we talked about it earlier, but they've lost assets, but bringing in Cooper Kupp, I think, might draw in either veteran or rookie receivers that want to learn and piggyback off of Cooper Kupp. Arguably one of the best receivers to play in the NFL.
Yeah.
I would say for sure. He's for sure the greatest Rams receiver, in my opinion. I think it's great that he went to Seattle, going back home to Washington, where he played at Eastern Washington. So I think it's great for him. As a Rams fan, I'm not mad that we didn't sign him in terms of his performance. I think
Yeah.
it was on the downslope, but I'm also happy that he's in a spot that he has a connection with and that he's happy to be at.
And we forget Sam Darnold's only 27 years old. Like he's a year younger than Joe Burrow, and he's 3 years younger than Jared Goff, who's just hit his prime. Right, so it's like Sam Darnold still has 10 plus years left in the league if he can, work it out to where he's going to be a starting quarterback for the future.
And
Right?
if they want him to be the starting quarterback, I mean, first off, Seattle's got to get their O line
Yeah.
to max potential. I don't think they have a terrible O line last season, but compared to Minnesota, I mean, the Rams had a record like I think 5 or 6 sacks in that wild card game against the Vikings. So that can't be happening during the regular season if you're the Seahawks. If you want Darnold to be your franchise guy,
Yeah, it'll definitely be exciting to watch. My brother's a Niner fan. I've started rooting for the Rams a little bit more because of Puka Nacua. If you haven't seen the video of him going and like his whole number change video, that was one of the coolest like videos I've seen put together. Not just
it's
because it
so
had
cool.
BYU stuff, but like it's a really good video the Rams did. I love Puka going back to his roots with number 12. I was gonna get a Puka number 17 jersey a couple months ago, so I'm glad I waited for that. But
You held out longer than I did because I got one hanging in my closet right now, so I got to get a 12 soon. But
how long ago did you get it?
my wife, we went to a Rams game a year ago, so not this season, but 2 seasons ago, his rookie season. Cleveland, they played Cleveland at SoFi, and I think he had broken the rookie record either for the Rams that game, receiving yards, so it was insane. But she got that for me for my birthday, and
Cool.
it's so dope.
That's awesome. I feel like with a number like that, like you can't really go wrong. Like people will always remember. Like
Oh, yeah.
Puka, the beginning of his career he was 17. Like it's not one of those weird numbers they give like a minor leaguer coming up in the majors. It's like Christian Moore, number 74. It's
Yeah,
that was a number that he chose. But,
exactly.
Speaking about Puka, right? We talked about BYU. Main focus of our show today is March Madness, right? We had the first game. Today is Alabama State. Is that what it was? Yeah, Alabama State over St. Francis. What a game. In the round of
For
16
real.
in the first 4. Like, holy cow, the end of that
Kicking
game.
the
was
madness
insane.
off right off in game one.
Yeah,
Like
those there'll be some one shining moment highlights coming from that game. So it was exciting. But we were talking before we started, and we wanted to just kind of go through the bracket together. We were just going to kind of analyze each matchup, and we'll see kind of where we think the tournament will end up.
yeah.
I mean, do we just want to start off right away and go Auburn, Alabama State?
Let's start off there. I want to, I guess, talk about some certain teams. I just saw this video probably half an hour ago. Barstool does what they call a bracket busters tournament.
Okay.
So all the employees at Barstool get into teams and pick a team that is seeded 9 or higher. So 9 through 15. They can pick one of those teams that they think is going to bust the bracket, make a run. So obviously I think it might be hard with just 2 of us playing that game, since the odds of us picking a buster is probably very slim. But I want to know what teams you, Cam, think could make a potential run, could break or bust some brackets this year.
If we want to talk about teams 9 seed or higher, I'm going to go UC San Diego. I think they've got a good shot of beating Michigan. My brother's, he's only 12. Well, he's turning 12 in May. He's one of the smartest kids I know when it comes to like sports and all this stuff. So he's really high on Yale. New Mexico, I think, will do really good. Drake, I'm super high on. And then, unfortunately, I hate to say it. Like, obviously, I still think BYU will win. But if VCU beats BYU, I think VCU can make it to the Sweet 16. Like, honestly, I think that Wisconsin team is really unfortunate that they're not going to make the Sweet 16. I think winner BYU VCU makes the Sweet 16.
I agree. I like those names. It's funny. Every year that I pick brackets, the yeah, NCAA's official website, they obviously do a bracket challenge. I like theirs. I like to reference theirs because you can select statistical categories and compare them against each team. And so I'll typically pick the categories I think are most important in a game or in a matchup and go with the outcome that the computer thinks. And it's funny that you mentioned your brother's high on Yale because in this bracket I have Yale in the Elite Eight.
Wow.
I have the computer has Yale reaching the Elite Eight. They beat Auburn and they face Michigan State in that South Quadrant final, I guess you can say.
Wow.
The other kicker, and I'm no dummy, I will never take the bait of Gonzaga basketball, but the computer has Gonzaga winning it all based on the statistical categories I selected, which is very interesting because typically a typical Gonzaga team, you hear the hype throughout the entire season. The preseason, number one, number three, number two. I think preseason they were top five or top 10. They might have been top five. Anyway, they're still ranked pretty highly preseason, but then they fell off. So I don't want to take the bait that they're not my champion in my official bracket, but
Like,
I think it's
what?
just funny seeing those stats and having Gonzaga win it all.
A lot of the metrics that I've seen, like Gonzaga is a very efficient team. Um, I was gonna look something up, but I will save it for another time. But like a lot of these, like teams that are very good on offense and very good on defense, Gonzaga is right up there. I mean, I'm never gonna doubt Mark Few, and his ability to make runs in the tournament. But at the same time, the tournament or the selection committee seems to love the SEC. They're playing a team from the SEC. It's a bulldog on bulldog matchup. It's a Michael Vick matchup. So, it's going to be an interesting one for sure.
I I don't know if I'm the only one that has this opinion. And after I give this possibly outrageous take, we can do our bracket. I think the SEC is severely overrated.
I agree.
I think they are severely overrated conference. Getting 14 teams in is outrageous. I think not having a winning record in your conference does not deserve. You do not deserve a bid into the conference, into the dance. I also think it is outrageous that Auburn still got the number one overall seed. I think that if it wasn't if it wasn't the winner of the SEC that got the number one bid in Florida, it had to go to Duke, I think. I don't understand how that just blows my mind. Period. How they are still. I think I read a tweet that the SEC is the largest partner, or they use some other word for it, of ESPN, and ESPN has been hyping up the SEC to bring in the money, to bring in the hype, to get as many SEC teams into the dance as possible. But I am not sold on any or very few SEC teams. That is.
Yeah, I mean, I think Auburn's probably been the most consistent team all year long. They have big wins over Iowa State, over Houston, over Alabama, over Florida, over Tennessee. I think with a record like that, obviously, do I think they're the best team as of late? I don't, but I think they're probably the best team overall in the tournament. I don't know how far they'll go in the tournament, but I honestly don't have too much of a problem because, I mean, the SEC, yeah, definitely overrated, but also those top-heavy teams in the SEC are better than any of the other conferences. So I think that to finish the regular season number one in a conference like that, I think they're deserving of the number one seed.
I think they get number one seed. I don't know about overall number one, is what I'm saying, but
Yeah.
Speaking of how far they'll go, I guess we can see how far we'll think they'll go in this.
All right. Share my screen. Hopefully, can you see that all right, Connor?
I can see that.
Okay, perfect. Well, we're talking about Auburn. Let's start with them. So Auburn, Alabama State. Alabama State just had a really good game. Let's take a look at just kind of like the preview here. I mean, like Auburn, obviously. Do we even really need to go over this game? We're both going
No,
Auburn,
we're
right?
going Alabama. Oh, oh, yeah, Auburn. We're going Auburn.
Okay, so we'll take Auburn there. Um,
As much as I just dogged on him, we'll go Auburn.
okay, Louisville Creighton. I want to hear your thoughts before I share mine on this.
Okay. The my thoughts, they branch off of my opinions on the conferences,
Okay.
and my opinion on the ACC is that it, and I don't think this is very controversial either. I think I've heard this throughout many analysts and media that this is the weakest ACC
Yeah.
conference in a long time. Louisville got, and here's the irony: Louisville and Creighton make conference final games, make the conference championship, and get smacked. They both get
Yeah.
lose. Louisville loses to Duke. Creighton loses to St. John's. My gut tells me to pick Creighton. They had a decent run last tournament. I think it might be itching at them to get back and prove. I had them winning last year,
Okay.
so I remember this vividly. I think they might be trying to prove for sure their own fan base that last year was a fluke. I mean, Ashworth. I think this is his last
Yeah.
season for sure. I mean, I love Ashworth. He's a local Utah State transfer. Um, Cockbrenner. I've always been a big fan of him. I want to go Creighton. That's where I'm leaning towards in this matchup.
Yeah. I mean, like I can definitely see that. See, I've kind of honestly been favoring Louisville a little bit,
Yeah.
and here's why. Like, obviously, I think Creighton's beat Kansas this year at home, right? They beat in UConn. Right? They're 3-5 against the current top 25, like we see on screen. But this is essentially a home game for Louisville, right? It's being played in Lexington, which is an hour away from Louisville.
Okay. I didn't
And
know. I'll be
so,
honest. I didn't know that, and now
yeah,
that I know that, I will take that into consideration.
because like I think Louisville, like yeah, I think these teams match up really well on paper, but I think overall, like home court advantage usually gives like a 3.5 point favorite or favor. Um, since we're seeing on screen, since 2019, 9 seeds are 16-8 versus 8 seeds, but Louisville's favored by 2.5 points right here. I think a large part of that comes because they're the home team, and so I don't know. I've kind of been on the fence with this one. I've kind of been leaning towards Louisville, but you were talking about Creighton. But you also said you didn't know that it was being played in Kentucky. So
No.
after hearing that,
Here's my other, I guess, argument for them. I'm looking at. I'll also reference my stat bracket to see if I can. I don't want it all the influence to come from my side, but maybe we can make some sort of a decision.
yeah,
So I'll run through the stats that I. It's not really doing it on the browser. Let me pick up my phone real quick. Um, the stats I usually typically run are shooting percentage, 3 point percentage, free throw percentage. Um, I think defensive efficiency is a big one. I like to use. Let's see. Uh, yeah, 3 point field goal percentage, free throw percentage, opponents' points per game, points in the paint. I think is a really big stat that is undervalued. I would say fouls per game, defensive efficiency, assist to turnover ratio, rebounds per game, and bench points percentage.
okay,
With all those, it is a pretty close matchup. With I'll use the analysis points. Um, Louisville 46.6 to Creighton 48.3.
okay,
The big thing I want to point out is Creighton doesn't foul a lot. Their foul, I guess, to non-foul ratio compared to Louisville is about 6 fouls a game less,
wow,
which I think is pretty big. assisted turnover ratio is also vastly greater. They shoot the three ball exactly the same actually, so that doesn't really matter. I If you want, we can flip a coin since we're
I'll, I'll,
both
I'll let you make the final say on this one, and maybe the next one we have like a
okay.
we debate over it, and maybe I'll take the final
I
say.
want to lean towards Creighton.
Okay,
I
let's do
love
it.
Louisville. Yeah, just go Creighton.
Okay, let's do it.
I might talk myself out of it.
All right. We'll take maybe these next two as kind of a package here. Maybe we'll go like a quick hitter,
Yes.
even though these could be big games. Michigan, UC San Diego, and Texas A&M and U.
So
Who do you got? In these?
I'll take a quick hit on one matchup. The other one I think I kind of want to talk about a little more, just because I know we have referenced this team before. The quick hit, my heart wants to go with Yale, but I think A&M is a really good team. I could see them beating Auburn.
Me too.
So I want to go with Texas A&M right away. I don't see how they lose to Yale. Yale's also broken my heart a lot in brackets, that is. However, this Michigan UC San Diego game, you have referenced UC San Diego before and how they are a team to watch out for. I would pick them 9 times out of 10
Okay.
if it weren't only for that Michigan just won the Big Ten.
Okay.
That is my only. That is the only thing that is hanging over my head for UC San Diego is that Michigan just won the Big Ten. Is that enough to justify? Because I'm like, there's no way the Big Ten champ goes out first round, even though that happened. What year did Purdue get stumped? And they won. I think they won the Big Ten that year.
2023, I think.
And I think they won. They lost to Farley Dickinson. Yes, I think they won the Big Ten that year. If I'm not mistaken, it's March. Anything can happen.
I was on my mission when that upset happened, so I honestly had no idea that upset happened until yesterday or 2 days ago. So the more you know.
March Madness stats say UC San Diego by 10.
Okay. Here's why I think like UC San Diego can hang in there. They have the highest like turnover to turnover ratio, and what I mean by that is they don't turn the ball over and they force a lot of turnovers. And so
and you're very correct about that. Yes.
I haven't watched enough Michigan this year to see if like okay, do they rely a lot on turnovers to get things done or not? But I do like where your head is at with Michigan. Having just come off of a Big 12 win or Big 10 win, having beaten teams like Michigan State recently, having beaten Maryland, Wisconsin, right? They went on a pretty good run there in the tournament, the Big 10 tournament. And so I'm thinking that, probably I've picked about 50-50 in my brackets, but I don't know. For this one, I'm kind of feeling Michigan.
You are.
Yeah.
I'm also a coin flip. Here's Here's also another rule of thumb I like to try and follow when it comes to filling out brackets, at least in the first round, is I like to try and get 9 upsets. Because I did a calculation last year that was about the average from all the previous brackets, that there have been about 9 first round upsets, I think, was the average. With that being said, I still want to go with I want to go with Michigan as well.
Yeah. So there's kind of the stats on that 5-12 matchup.
I hate that ESPN throws that in your face, because it doesn't matter. Relatively, it does not matter, and it makes me overthink. It makes me think twice.
Here's another note, though, that I'm just noticing for the first time. UC San Diego hasn't played a top 25 team yet this year.
No.
So
have they played? I don't know if you can look this up. Have they played a tournament team?
I believe they have. I don't remember who it was, but I believe they have played a tournament team. Okay, so they lost to San Diego State. They beat Utah State.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
So those are their two biggest games.
Which honestly, those aren't like holy. Those aren't like eye-popping wins, especially with Utah State as of late, and with San Diego State getting thumped by North Carolina. So
Yeah.
I'm happy with the Michigan pick right
We
there.
get to lock in that.
Yes.
Sweet. All right, these next two, Ole Miss and North Carolina, Iowa State and Lipscomb. I'll just give you my takes right away. I think Iowa State and Ole Miss come away with this one. Do you disagree at all with those?
Iowa State, no.
Okay.
Ole Miss, North Carolina. For some reason, I have doubts. I think I have blindly picked Ole Miss every single time, but knowing that UNC dominantly beat San Diego
Yeah.
State, they're coming with vengeance into this tournament. I think I would not be surprised if they beat Ole Miss and then beat Iowa State, especially with the loss of
Gilbert.
Gilbert. Yeah,
Yeah, I like that actually. The more you say that, yeah, with their swamping tonight and them really wanting to prove in the tournament, like, hey, this is who we are. Like, we're here to play.
Yes.
They just played toe to toe with Duke. So yeah, I mean, if you're good with it, I'm all right taking North Carolina.
I'm more I'm very good with it. Yes,
All right.
especially I don't think Ole Miss finished relatively high in the SEC. Yeah, they were 2, 4, 6, 7th in the SEC.
Let me do this. I want to see Ole Miss's notable wins this year. They lost to Purdue. They beat Alabama. Lost to A&M. Lost to Auburn twice. Beat Tennessee. Lost to Auburn again. Lost to Florida. So yeah, I don't.
I'm very I. The more I think about it, I like the UNC pick.
Me too. All right, next two. I'm just going to go ahead and lock Michigan
Yeah.
State in. Marquette, New Mexico. Most of my brackets, I've been picking New Mexico.
Yes.
I
I was
like
gonna say. Sorry.
them a lot.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I like them a lot. I think New Mexico always performs well. They've got Donovan Dent and the Mountain West Player of the Year, who's averaging 20 points a game. You have Nelly Jr., who's 14 points a game and 11 boards. New Mexico has beaten teams like UCLA. They beat VCU, beat San Diego State. They beat Utah State twice. And so it's like they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins over tournament teams, and they only lost to St. John's by 14. They put up 71 on St. John's. Which is really good.
I was gonna say I don't know if we want to note that they only lost by 14. They put up 71. That's still impressive. The point of margin of loss is not very impressive, but the fact that they put those numbers on St. John's is.
I mean, Marquette here, right? So common opponent that I'm just noticing is so they both played St. John's, and it was 85-71 against New Mexico. St. John's won. But here in these games, 70-64, 86-84, 79-63.
Yeah.
So
I want to say New Mexico's a shoo-in. I think they get the win no matter what. In the
Yeah,
words of Scott Gerard of the KSL Zone, he covers Utah State basketball. New Mexico is not a team you want to face in the tournament. They,
Yeah.
I think, are a scary team. It would not shock me if they make it to the Sweet 16 and beat
okay.
and beat Michigan State.
Bold prediction. I like it. All right. We're into the east side of the bracket now. I'm just going to we'll
Do that. Do that.
Duke.
I don't even know who the two playing teams are.
Yeah,
So
the good old American and Mount St. Mary's.
Yeah.
I've been liking Mississippi State over Baylor.
Okay.
Recently, I don't know. I feel like Baylor kind of fell off at the end of the year. They lost to Colorado. They lost to some other, only okay teams. Lost to Cincinnati, I think, at the end down the stretch there in the Big 12. Haven't seen Baylor play. They seem to have struggled lately. They do have VJ Edgecombe, which, obviously is a big help. I think
Yes.
Mississippi State haven't played in the SEC, with a tournament record like the SEC has. I'm leaning more this one.
I I honestly don't have a strong feeling on either one of these teams. Baylor was also a preseason top 10 team, which makes you think. I think it makes you t- have double takes, I
Yeah.
guess. Like you pointed out, they have fallen off as of late. I'm good with Mississippi State.
All right.
I'm not. Baylor has not sold. I have not been sold on Baylor.
Yeah. All right. And I think every single one of my brackets except for one, I've picked Arizona over Akron, and then I have Oregon over Liberty.
I think it's the same for me as well. I think we can pick those for sure. I don't think any of it. I will say though that I would look out for that Oregon Liberty matchup.
Okay.
From what I've heard and what I have watched somewhat, Liberty is a pretty, I wouldn't say good in any terms, but they're competitive.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if Liberty beats Oregon by double digits. I think they are really good 3-point shooting team. So I would not be surprised if that happens. I still think Oregon can get it done. Their first season in the Big Ten, they did pretty good. They had a
Yeah.
good showing. So that's all I'm going to say. I still think Oregon gets it done.
Yeah, I agree. I think Oregon handles it pretty well here. Liberty yet to play a top 25 team, so yeah, I like that. All right. BYU, VCU, are we good to pencil in Wisconsin over Montana?
Yes. I will. Yes. Yes, yes.
All right. I just want to see this. What does it have like BYU 2.5 point favorite right now. Saunders and Yegor are two highest scores on a per game basis. Max Shulga looks really good for VCU.
Former Utah State transfer.
Yep. But kind of look at these. So 2 wins over Iowa State, a win over Arizona, a win over Kansas, and a win over Baylor. So all of BYU's notable wins are Big 12, or notable results, I should say, are Big 12 opponents. And not shocking.
And if I'm not wrong, I think ESPN's does it. Is it just their most recent games played? Like, if you look at BYU's, it's just their most recent schedule, is it not?
So it's not.
Oh, no, it's not. Okay.
Yeah, because it has like Houston in January.
Okay. Yeah, and right.
With
Yeah.
Utah.
Okay. Good.
But I like this. Cougars, one of the hottest teams in the country entering the tournament, led by guard Richie Saunders. BYU's offensive attack relies on taking and making a ton of threes. BYU also benefits from strong contributions from bench players like Foose. Lack of size in the front court could be a weakness against stronger interior teams. Shots are falling beyond the arc. BYU has proven they can hang with just about anybody. I mean, VCU's got a good 3-point defense, and so I think if I wasn't like a BYU fan, I think I'd probably be going VCU. But just having watched BYU games this year, I don't know. I can't go against the Cougs here.
I think we can get into our thoughts and hopes for BYU in this tournament after we fill this out. All I will say is BYU is not losing this game. I am very confident they will not lose this game. I think with Dallin Hall and Richie and Foose having been on the team last year and been significant key players, they have that bitter taste in their mouth from getting beat by Duquesne, a A10 team last year. This is deja vu for them. I do not think they'll allow history to repeat itself. I think BYU wins this, no doubt.
Yeah, I agree. We'll keep it there. Next episode. Not sure if we'll record tomorrow or not. Maybe we'll do a Thursday night edition after the games. But yeah, I'm really excited about this team right here.
We'll see if I get my words on Thursday. So
yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna put in Alabama, and then here's one we may need to go through the southern side of the bracket a little bit quicker if we want to get in everything. But St. Mary's Vanderbilt's one I've kind of been on the fence, picking both teams. here and there. What are your analytics saying on them?
My analytics says St. Mary's, and it's not close. 53.3 to 38.2 on
Oh wow.
analytics points. Saint Vandy does shoot the three very well. They also just overall field goal percentage is relatively up there with St. Mary's. However, St. Mary's doesn't foul as much. They play pretty good defense. Which is a very typical of St. Mary's, a pretty good defensive team. I I think this is honestly a coin flip decision in my opinion because I can see both these teams beating Alabama in the next round.
Yeah.
I want to lean towards let's look at their opponents,
Yeah.
the
So
teams.
this is Vanderbilt. So beat Tennessee, beat Kentucky, um,
Beat
beat
A&M.
A&M.
And all
Vanderbilt,
their
their
losses,
losses lost to
except
Kentucky
that
by 21,
Auburn has
Tennessee by 5.
and that Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama up there.
If okay, they have a handful
Here,
that aren't so pretty.
here's St. Mary's. I mean, not a lot of tournament teams, but they did beat Gonzaga twice this year. They're the first team to like sweep Gonzaga in like a season series in a long time. And so, I don't know. It sounded like you were leaning towards St. Mary's there.
I look at the analytics to my left, and I want to go St. Mary's. I think I want to lean towards Vandy.
Okay.
I mean, the SEC in comparison to the WCC is in another universe in terms
Yeah.
of competition.
What, the WCC is not a good power conference?
No, I
What?
know, shocker, right?
Yeah.
Why would Gonzaga leave the powerhouse of the
Yeah,
WCC?
right. It's it's brutal up there in the Pacific
Uh
Northwest.
huh.
Um,
I'm in favor to go with Vandy on this one.
okay. See, I don't know. I think I like looking at this. SMU. St. Mary's plays with a very slow pace. They were upset last year as a 5 seed. They're among the best in rebound margin and scoring defense. Back-to-back WCC Player of the Year, and Augustus Marquilionis.
Sounds
Good
right.
old, good old Augusta right there. Um, yeah, look at that. Like SMU's only holding opponents at 60 a game, and we saw what something like that did to BYU. Right, like you look at their BPI, their Basketball Power Index rankings,
Uh-huh.
30 to
That's pretty
56.
high.
St. Mary's lost one game in conference this year, which means they've lost. I think they probably played 2 games in the WCC conference or 3. But let's say they've only played 2 games, and their last 20 games they're 18-2. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I think just a winning culture is good enough, especially when you're
And
like a higher seed and you're coming off of a first round loss last week.
well, it's good you mentioned that winning cultures because that's what makes March a
Yeah.
little bit mad. That was a really bad joke there, but that's how these Farley Dickinsons, these St. Peters, these FAUs go on runs is for the winning culture. Those streaks that they have in very bad conferences, I will say,
Yeah.
that's how it happens. So I was going Vandy. I think you talked me into going
Let's
St. Mary's if
go.
that's where you're going. So
Yep.
I like that. The only thing I'm going to point out though
No
is
upsets in this
the
side.
top 25 matchup.
Yeah. I did notice that, but I think we talked about Gonzaga, right? Their efficiency numbers. I think Gonzaga is good enough to like kind of be counted in as a top 25 team. I mean,
Yeah,
this year,
we
obviously,
can
they
say
haven't played
that.
that way, but yeah,
I will say though, out of all the regions that wouldn't have any upsets, I think the East is probably that region.
yeah,
The only upset that I can see coming out of there would be Oregon Liberty matchup or St. Mary's Vanderbilt. And
yeah,
honestly, St. Mary's Vanderbilt, I don't see if Vandy won that game. I don't really see that as an upset. But
yeah. I'm with you on that. Um, All right, well, there's our top half. How long have we been recording this episode for?
I we're at 45 minutes, and quite frankly, I do not care because
Yeah.
this is fun.
All right, well, let's do this. Let's kind of go through. Maybe we'll like look at each bracket or look at each like matchup. We'll start over here. Um, we'll just like say the team we think's gonna win. If it's different, we'll discuss. If it's not, we'll
Okay,
just
yeah.
move on with the next team.
Okay,
All right. So
Florida.
Florida.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's a
Okay.
shoe in.
Next game, I say UConn.
I say UConn as well. Yeah,
Okay. Um, 3, 2, 1. Colorado
Colorado
State.
State. Yeah.
Yep.
Can we talk about this one for just a
Yeah.
little bit though? I think Colorado State. I think the West overall is very underrated in terms
I agree.
of their basketball culture. Colorado State having, I want to say they're on a 10-game win streak with winning
Yeah.
the Mountain West. And Memphis also, speaking of bigger teams losing players, they are one of them, losing one of their key players, which I think only elevates Colorado State and helps them. Can you look at the spread on that game real
Yeah.
quick?
Let's take a look at it. So
Um,
I wouldn't be shocked if. Yeah, Colorado State's
one and
actually
a half.
favored in
Yeah.
this game.
Okay. So, like we said just a few moments ago, winning culture, 10 in a row, coming off a conference championship, which they were, I don't really think they were even in the conversation,
No.
to be honest, at least midway through conference play. I think this could be a Cinderella team in Colorado State.
Yeah.
Maryland scares me, but I think if they could get past Maryland, which I don't know if you are picking Maryland. We'll find out in a couple
I
seconds.
think I'm leaning towards Maryland. I don't.
Mhm.
I have a personal vendetta against GCU. That campus was in my mission. They
Mhm.
were. Yeah. We'll just say.
No,
Yeah. The campus has a stigma.
we can say that. Also, I watched that WAC championship game. I love.
Yeah.
I like UVU. UVU basketball culture it's always been strong, but it's on the rise in terms of being a powerhouse, I guess you would say, in the WAC. That was an ugly championship game, in my opinion. It did not look
Yeah.
good from either side. So I don't think Grand Canyon is going to be the Grand Canyon of old in terms of making magic happen in the tournament. But going back to Colorado State, I think they're a team to look out for. I almost want to say they for sure beat Memphis, but
Yeah. I think that's been my most commonly picked. Well, I don't know. Maybe UC San Diego over Michigan has been a more common pick for me there. But
and the
um,
analytics have Colorado State by about 10.
okay.
So, well, 9 exactly, but
Yeah.
I like that
I'm
pick.
I'm good with that. Keeping Colorado State there. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, like, I think Grand Canyon like is a fun team to pick, but we both sound like we're picking Maryland there.
Yes, in the past couple years they've had high flying offenses,
Yeah.
but this year I just really haven't heard or seen that out of them. So
They ran toe to toe with Michigan, so I'm good with picking them. Okay, I want to save this one right here for the last.
okay,
So we're obviously picking Omaha here.
yeah, clearly, bruh, they freaking whack trash cans after big
I know,
wins.
I love it.
Are we not? I mean, if they win, I will not be sad for St. John's at all. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about St. John's, but I just don't. I like them, but I also don't like them. I
Yeah.
don't know if that makes sense at all. Like,
No,
if
yeah,
they won the national championship, I wouldn't be upset. But at the same time, like, it'd probably.
Yeah, I get what you're saying because it's like they're not like a likable team.
No,
Like they're not a fun. It doesn't. I don't know. Like, not that they're like bad people. It's just it's not like a fun, like flashy, exciting team. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah, they've just kind of been good this year, and they've always kind of been an under the rug team with Rick Pitino now in his third year coaching the Johnnies. I like him. Did you see the Jimmy Fallon thing he did with them?
I was just gonna reference that. That's why I think it's kind of funny.
I enjoyed
I-
that. I enjoyed that one.
If it weren't for NAL, that would not happen. That was hilarious, though. I mean, them being in Jersey, though, that's the best thing to happen to New York
Yeah,
since what? I almost said something I should not have said. Referenced a year that was not in reference. I was in reference to World Series, but
Yeah, World Series won that year.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, they won the World Series in
2008
2009.
or 9, yeah.
2009.
So
And then the Mets
best
won
thing
it in
since
15.
okay, well, no one likes the Mets. Anyways,
Yeah. Yeah.
St.
Aside
John's
from
showing.
specific years in New York, we're
Yes.
gonna now move on to the battle of Arkansas and Kansas.
This was another thing though. Just these two matchups, the Hall of Fame caliber just level of coaching.
Yeah.
Bill Self, Calipari, gosh, my memory is shot. You just Rick Pitino, like
Rick Pitino, yeah.
that is it is insane coaching
This-
matchup right there.
This is a fun side of the bracket. You got Bobby Hurley.
Bobby
yeah.
Hurley too, yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. I went and penciled in Texas Tech, but
Yeah.
I'm sitting 50-50 on Kansas and Arkansas. Where I'll let you make the like if you have a pick in mind, like what are you leaning?
So when I look at analytics, it has Kansas destroying Arkansas. These aren't point totals, by the way.
Yeah.
The analytics have a 54-39
Okay.
margin victory for Kansas. I just don't like Kansas as of late. They have not been playing good basketball, and I don't know what it is about Calipari, but he gets it done, except last year in
Yeah.
March. I want to lean towards Arkansas just because the Jayhawks have not been good as of late.
Yeah. I like what the Jayhawks did in the Big 12 tournament against Arizona. Like, I think they looked decent, but kind of at the end, like, they just couldn't seem to get over the hump. I think if they get down here against Arkansas, they're going to kind of struggle.
Where's
So-
this game being played?
That is a very good question. Providence.
Rhode Island, okay. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I don't know. Now that you said.
Because
Who's favored in this game? Arkansas?
Kansas by 4.5.
Or Kansas by 4.5?
Like, I'd honestly be okay with switching to Kansas here. This one's kind of like a 50-50 throw up for me. Like, I think Kansas can dominate. And the more I think about it, Bill Self has always been super successful in the tournament. I mean, Calipari has as well, but
Bill Self more recently
yeah. I mean,
won a
I'm starting
title 5 years ago.
something like that, yeah. Like, I'm almost starting to lean more back towards Kansas. Like, I'm perfectly fine. Like I said, it's 50-50.
No, I'm 50-50 too. Let's go Kansas. I think Bill Self will get them ready. I think the Big 12 they've been under the radar, I feel like, in
Yeah.
terms of a power conference this year. Like last year it was all Big 12, how insanely strong the conference was. This year it's all the SEC. No talks of really any other conference. And I think the Big 12 is probably the second best conference in the nation in terms of overall teams. Yep. The Big 10 is a close second. I think they have what's the word I'm looking for? They're more evened out, I would say, in terms of strength. Mm-hmm. So I'm more confident with Kansas now that you've talked me out of Arkansas. So,
all right, Kansas it is. Okay, here's the big one. We're gonna say it on the count of 3. I'm thinking we're both gonna be saying the same team here, but I just want to double check with this Missouri Drake matchup. We'll go 1, 2, 3.
Drake, yeah. I'll go Drake. It's gonna be close. I think this game
favorite?
is.
No. Missouri's favored by a lot.
In the analytics, they're a 1-point favorite. That's why I think it's going to be close. It is. Missouri rebounds the ball very well. In terms of scoring, 3-point points in the paint, overall field goal percentage, it's almost locked in. It's almost dead even. Um, I'm okay with this. I can see this being an upset. I think last year Drake almost had the upset in who they were playing. I don't know if they got it or not. I want to say it was close.
Yeah, I don't know. But do we just want to move on to this final side of the bracket, and
Yeah,
then we'll speed run kind of the rest of it.
let's keep going. Yeah,
All right, Houston obviously over Southern Indiana University Edwardsville. Right here, I mean, you sound heavy on Gonzaga, like you
I'm
like
going
them.
with the Zags.
I like Gonzaga here as well.
I
I think
didn't. I'll be
I think
honest.
the
I didn't
Bulldogs come out on top of this one.
Yeah. I'll be honest.
Lock
I
it.
didn't know Georgia was that good this year.
Yeah.
I have not heard anything about Georgia. Just on that fact alone, I'm gonna go with Gonzaga. But
Because here's what Georgia's got this year. They got some big wins. They beat Kentucky. They beat Florida. Um, but yeah, you kind of look at the rest of these, and it's not great. Like they had a losing record in conference. They went 8-10, similar to Vandy. I just think the Zags have got experience, so yeah, I'm good with just sticking with the Zags and moving on.
I'm good with the Zags. Analytics say Zags as well by a very wide margin, by 30.
Yeah.
So
All right, you got Clemson here against
I got.
McNeese.
Here's the thing. This section and the South section, in terms of these matchups, have been the hardest for me to decide.
Yeah.
Because I can see McNeese and High Point beating their opponents.
I actually really like High Point. Like I think High Point wins this game.
Do you want to hear my reason why I think High Point wins this game? They sound like the Cinderella team.
Yeah.
You have never heard of them. You had never heard of St. Peter's. You had never heard of Farley Dickinson. You had never heard of who's the team that beat Virginia?
UMBC.
Yeah, UMBC.
Baltimore County.
Yeah, this just it is written. I feel like, and it's against Purdue too. And Purdue has struggled historically against bad teams.
Yeah, and I mean Purdue did make the finals last year, but fun fact: so Ryan Odom, the head coach of VCU, was actually on the staff that USNBC team or UMBC team.
Yes, they hired. That's true. He was the head coach, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think he was an assistant. I think
he was an assistant. Okay.
But so we going Clemson here. I'm also okay if you feel more McNeese. Like
I want to go High Point for sure.
Yeah. Shout out.
I'm leaning more. I'm
I'm
leaning more towards Clemson.
Yeah.
I think Clemson, besides Duke, is the second best team in the ACC.
Yeah. I feel you there. On this side of the bracket, I feel like this is a pretty common way to pick it. Like unless you have any that you really want to go in depth on. Like I have Illinois, Kentucky, Utah State, Tennessee.
That's exactly how I have it.
Okay.
I don't think Texas deserved to get in. They haven't really played anyone. They were really weak, and I think they were the lowest ranked SEC team in terms of seedings. Yes, horns down.
Should have worn my Taysom shirt. I have a shirt with Taysom jumping over.
Oh yeah, that shirt is legendary.
Texas players.
That picture. Oh yeah.
Such a cool.
I'm confident. I like those picks though.
All right. Okay, round of 32. All right, let's just kind of keep this like here. Do you just want to say the team you think, and then I'll like agree or disagree, and if we disagree, we can talk about it.
Yeah, sure.
All right. All right. So who do you have?
I'm going.
these for?
I'm going Auburn on this one. On Auburn Creighton. I think I want to go A&M as well on the second matchup. Do you want to just complete this quadrant?
Yeah, I like that.
I want to go. I want to lean towards UNC.
Yep.
Especially with the, with it. Iowa State's
Actually,
injuries.
the more I think about, like, BYU, like, Iowa State played BYU very, very similar. Like, even without Gilbert and Lipsy. And I just think Iowa State's a really tough team to play against.
They're really tough, but
Like, I know
something
North
just
Carolina
tells
has this
me
momentum, but I don't know.
they are a really good team. Let's think on that one. I want
Okay.
this
Well,
next matchup is the one that I have debated on for a while. Is Michigan State, New Mexico,
yeah,
because I can see the Spartans making it to the Final Four,
I can too.
but I can see New Mexico State going on a Cinderella run, and making it to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, both of these teams, were shocked in their conference tournament. New Mexico, I think, was the number 1 seed out of the Mountain West.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe they weren't.
I think they were.
But oh yeah, they were because they lost to Boise State. But I don't know. My trainer is from East Michigan. Shout out to Elder Lowry. But I don't know. Like, I like New Mexico, but I feel like just the quality of opponents here, like strength of schedule wise, I think Michigan State heavily outweighs them. And I mean, Tom Izzo is one of the greatest coaches of all time when it comes to March. He's made the tournament 29 straight times as a head coach. And so I think this is where he kind of like kicks it up a gear. That first game, they lost to Middle Tennessee State before as a 2 seed. So I think there's no way they lose that first game. And so because of that, I mean, obviously they're going to prep hard for Bryant, but I think they're already focusing on that next game. They play after Marquette, New Mexico, and then game right after them. But anyway, I threw around a lot of words. Really, I'm saying I think Michigan State will win.
In the words of Dick Vitale, the Fighting Izzos. I picked the Fighting Izzos. Shout out to Jackson Kohler. He's from Utah. Went to American Fork High School. Actually grew up. I wouldn't say I grew up with him. I grew up with his sister. They lived in our ward.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. LeBron he played with Bronny, and LeBron actually referred to him as someone who is bringing back big man basketball, and that he loves his game. So shout out to Jackson Kohler. He's a baller. He's a stud.
There we go. All right. Okay, back to North Carolina, Iowa State. I don't know. Something tells me this Iowa State team is very capable of making a run. Like, because this game is going to be played. It's in Milwaukee, so it's right next to Iowa.
That's pretty okay.
And so, like, I just think Iowa State fans travel so well. Like, Hilton South was a huge problem for BYU. I know BYU won that game in the tournament, but Iowa State fans go nuts.
I think I'm leaning more towards Iowa State now. I also had the thought UNC will have made a run. I think they beat Ole Miss regardless. I think that'll be the run to show that, hey, we did deserve to be in the tournament. I think they might run out of gas just because they did have to play an extra game up to this point. So I like that. Iowa State will have that following.
All right. I think we were both talking about earlier A&M's capable of beating Auburn. Do you think Auburn's luck runs out here?
Yes, 100%. I am not sold on Auburn at all in this tournament. I do not think they make the Elite. They for sure do not make the Final Four. I don't think they make the Elite Eight,
as a BYU fan, I was hoping we'd get Auburn, but I'm okay with kind of how the bracket is shaking out.
Which is funny because out of all the 1 seeds, that is who I'd want to face, who is also I conveniently the number 1 overall 1 seed.
I think, obviously, like, as of late, they're the worst 1 seed, but I think, like, overall, they're the best, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like,
no,
they haven't been favored, but, like, recently they kind of...
You look at this season as a whole point of view, they are the best. You look at the last half, they are the worst. So,
yeah. I'm with you. All right, Fighting Izzos or the Tornadoes?
Izzos. We go Spartans.
Yeah, and then... I'm feeling Spartans over A&M. Spartans are salty.
Yep.
Okay, I like it.
I like Sparty.
All right, we're gonna go to this. We're gonna go to this side of the bracket. We're going Midwest. Okay. Houston over Gonzaga. I think we both agree there.
Houston, yes. I would not be shocked though if Gonzaga beats Houston
Same.
though. I
I
would
think
not be
Gonzaga
shocked
kind of has
at
that
all.
reputation. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm with you there. Um, Clemson over High Point. I just think I
Here's
don't know. Clemson, I think, is a very underrated team. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Pretend that didn't happen. Let's take a look at the matchup here before I get into trouble. What were you going with here?
I I can I think the Cinderella team in terms of a seed that is 9 or higher will come from either High Point or Colorado State.
Yeah,
Clemson is underrated, I agree. For that fact, I think that plays into their favor. So I'm not opposed to picking Clemson in this matchup.
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, look, you have wins over SMU, North Carolina, tournament team. It's a tournament team.
Yep.
I don't care what you say. Win over Duke.
Which, not to go off on a tangent, but did you see? So the chairman of the tournament committee is the athletic director of North Carolina, and conveniently got $100,000 bonus for the Tar Heels making the tournament.
Yeah. I mean, I think the media is blowing it out of proportion. Like, I don't really think
I think so
there's
too.
much say in
Yes.
it, but I think it is something to note, and I think it's going to be something in the future that the NCAA committee looks at.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard not rumors, I've heard, like, people saying we should have a bracketologist committee. Like, made of bracketologists. I want, you know,
Get Joe Lenardi in there. Have
I
him
want
just
Lunardi,
create
Andy
the bar.
Katz.
Just
I want,
have him create the bracket. Yeah.
who's the CBS guy that's really good? His name has an R in it. I forget. CBS has Jerry Palm. Yeah, I guess that's an R. Like,
Okay.
I want to see a committee of those guys. I want to see bracket matrix.
Get Dick Vitale in there, bro. He's
Yeah.
the heart of college basketball. Get him in
Dickie
there.
V.
I mean, he'll just pick all the blue bloods, but
Get
that's
Sean Palm in
fine.
there. Yeah.
No,
I'm
I
with
thought
you.
that was
So,
just very interesting. They were talking about it on the zone today, and it was like, you're going to take that money regardless, but you have to have it in the back of your head. I'm going to get so much hate for taking this money. Like, anyway,
yeah.
side tangent on that. Clemson Tigers underrated. They go on to Sweet
Okay.
16.
I think the injury to Jackson Robinson hurts Kentucky. I think Illinois comes out on top here.
I haven't watched or kept up with Illinois that much
Yeah.
this year.
They
I know last year they were a strong team, or
They
two
got thundered
years ago.
by Maryland, the tournament. Kind of a similar thing to BYU. So I think they got like a bad half knocked out of them. And I think similar to BYU, they're going to come out on top here in this round, simply because Kentucky completely fell apart in the SEC tournament. Jackson Robinson, been their best player all year long, and he's out for the rest of the year. And so I think I think Mark Pope gets his win. They're playing in Milwaukee, so closer to Illinois.
That's a home game for Illinois.
I think it's Milwaukee. Yeah, they're
More
playing in Milwaukee.
more so for Kentucky, I'd say.
Yeah,
I'll take your advice. I'll take your take on this and go Illinois.
yeah.
too.
I think Illinois, and then obviously I think we're going Tennessee here.
Yeah, as much as I want Utah State to make a run, Tennessee looks very good.
Yeah, I'm with you there. All right, we'll save the best region for last.
Okay, thank you.
But Florida over UConn,
Yes.
Colorado State over Maryland. Or should we save that one?
Let's save that one. I am torn because we'll save that.
St. John's over Kansas.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like for a second I was like maybe Kansas could pull it off, but
I don't think so.
okay. Now
Here's where I think you can give me more insight than I can give you. I want to go with Texas Tech over Drake because I think Texas Tech I think they're a severely underrated team. I think they are very strong. I think they're very physical. That's my take. I have not watched a lick of Drake basketball. I've watched the very small highlights of Colorado State.
I don't know. I just haven't been sold much on Texas Tech. like just throughout the year, like I've struggled. They're the only team to beat Houston in the Big 12 this year, but I've kind of just struggled with like thinking Texas Tech is a top team, and I think it could come back to bite me. I mean, Texas Tech lost to Iowa State by 1, beat Arizona, beat Houston, beat Baylor, beat Kansas. I mean, they've got good wins. They beat BYU.
Hmm.
Drake doesn't really have any like huge win. I mean, they beat Kansas State. They beat Vanderbilt. They beat Miami. Beat FAU, who was a Final Four team a few years ago. Um, I don't know. I'm feeling more Texas Tech here. Like I feel like I'm someone that overlooks Texas Tech too much.
I agree. I'm in favor of Texas Tech. I'm one of those bracket selectors that gets blinded by the Cinderellas. I want a Cinderella team so
Yeah.
bad.
I think though, I mean, we were talking about Cinderella. We so we picked 0 upsets in our favorite region out east. Um, so the only team um, higher than a 6 seed to make the Elite Eight or to make the Sweet 16, sorry, would be Colorado State. And I feel like there has to be at least one, just like with
I
what
think there has
history
to be at
says.
least one. If it's not Colorado State, it's New Mexico.
Yeah,
I would lean towards Colorado State though, because I think that matchup is better than New Mexico, Michigan State. Um,
yeah.
I think I might have the analytics on that matchup, or at least I can pull them up. Yes, I
Because
do.
I'm also looking at
So, stats say Maryland, but only by 5.
yeah.
So
I
I
just
think
think
it could be a relatively close game, and I think that could be magic in that game. I think that could be like
yeah.
a crazy moment.
I think Grand Canyon kind of wears out Maryland a little bit. Games being played in Seattle, so closer for Colorado State.
By far, yes.
Um, so I mean, I don't think it'll play a huge role in it. Grand
Well,
Canyon will
you
travel
think about
well
it
up to
too.
Seattle.
Maryland, just the travel alone,
Yeah,
just for that Grand Canyon game. I think Grand Canyon fans travel pretty well as well. So I think the travel out of them will, the traveling will affect them.
yeah. All right. I think their run comes to an end though.
I agree.
Florida. While we're up here, hot take. I haven't done it yet in any of my brackets, but I think Clemson kind of gets on a roll, and they taught Houston 6-16. It's like if you want to veto that, I'm perfectly okay with that because that's
I
it just
I want to veto that for now.
okay.
I just can't get over the fact just how dominant Houston is defensively.
Yeah.
However,
How this matchup preview?
yeah, let's preview this matchup. Let me see. I can definitely.
Yeah, Houston holds opponents to 58 a game. Yeah, Houston. Dang, what is Clemson?
Houston on analytics is a 6-point favorite.
Yeah, I'm okay with going Houston here. I just kind of got like excited. I'm like, ooh, maybe I'll have the Clemson. Maybe in another one of my
I
brackets.
think
I'll
it
take
could
them
be close,
eventually.
surprisingly.
Yeah,
I bet they.
I could see
I
it being
bet
an
Clemson
overtime
could
game.
take them as I could see it going into overtime. I can see Clemson playing them as well as Texas Tech did in the regular
Yeah,
season, or as well as Arizona did in the Big 12 championship game. Arizona played them very well. So I think it'd be very close. I think that could be a coin flip, but I want to lean towards Houston.
yeah. And then I don't know about you, but I'm feeling. I'm gonna say 22. We're gonna pull a Swift reference here. The 2 seeds.
Okay,
22.
I
Feeling
like that.
22.
I'm not opposed to that. I think
Okay.
Texas Tech St. John's matchup could also go
Yeah.
either way. I'm okay with going with St. John's. I
I
like St. John's.
The more I think about it, St. John's is a very similar team to Houston as far as like on the defensive matchup. Like you look at how many points they allow a game. Um, like they're allowing 65, which I guess Houston allows 58. But I don't know. The more I look at this, Texas Tech
Look at
better BPI rank. Want me to look at notable wins?
well, I'm thinking of this as a well. Let's look at the better wins. I'm also thinking of this as a conference standpoint. The
Yeah.
Big East is not. I don't really feel like they're deep any
It's
year.
not what it once was.
No, I don't feel like they're very deep any year. UConn honestly fell off very hard.
Yeah.
I mean, they still made the tournament, but compared to being a one seed and winning back to backs, Creighton, Creighton is still, I think, pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they go on a run. Um, but St. John's manhandled that conference.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I'm seeing St. John's lost to Baylor by 1 back in November. And here recently, Texas Tech beat them by 14.
Do you want to do a coin flip?
Yeah, I think this is like our first like true coin flip matchup.
All right.
Um,
Pull up a coin flip simulator so people can.
10,000 times. We'll
Do it.
see. Whoa, hold on. Okay, so while we wait to see what the result is, whose heads?
Texas Tech. Let's do
Texas
Texas Tech. St.
Okay.
John's tails.
Okay.
Or yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, this is taking a lot longer than I thought, so we're just gonna stop it. Yeah, heads is winning. 18-12, 19-12. We'll say if heads can jump out to we'll say the first one to jump out to a 10-point lead
All right.
wins it. But in the meantime, the other games we've got Duke and Mississippi State. Who do we think wins there while we wait for the coins to flip?
Are you on there? I can't see.
I'm currently on
Okay, there you're good.
the coin. Oh yeah, you're right. You can't see the coin flip challenge. That's right. That's just me. I forget I'm not sharing that side of the screen as well. Yeah. So it's 6 up for heads, 5 up, 6 up, 7 up, 8 up, 7 up, 6 up. Yeah, it's looking like heads is gonna pull away here.
Let's do Texas Tech.
Cap. Oh, almost a comeback. You know, we're gonna stop it at 100 flips. You can see all the flips coming on right here now. Yep. So Texas Tech comes out on top barely.
By 2.
We stopped it at 100 is what we decided. Get back to sharing my screen here. Good to see your face again. I haven't seen your face.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, here we are. So we went with Texas Tech. Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know. Florida over Texas Tech.
I love Florida. I like that matchup.
And then watching Tennessee in their game against Florida, Tennessee is just super scrappy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like that's kind of how Houston plays, and so I think Tennessee, like Houston, can kind of bank on most teams aren't like able to play them as well as they're not able to play them good because they're not used to all this pressure. But Tennessee's doing that in practice.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm kind of leaning Tennessee here.
I'm as well. I think, like you said, they can keep up with Houston. I think they have a better offense compared to Houston's. So I can very well see Tennessee beating Houston. Where's that game being played? Do you know?
That game is in the Midwest, so I think it's in Indianapolis.
Indianapolis, okay. Okay, so
All right. We'll start down here. Bama or St. Mary's?
I'm not sold on Bama really either. They're a really good offensive. They fly off the wall on the offensive side of the ball. I just think they're flaky though. I think they're kind of BYU of last year, where if they can't hit their shots, they're going to lose.
Yeah, I'm
Which I
with you
mean,
there.
that's every team. But if they can't hit the three, they're going to lose this. They're going to lose that game to St. Mary's. I want to go with St. If Alabama doesn't lose to St. Mary's, they'll lose their Sweet 16 game.
Yeah, for the fun of it. No, I was gonna say, wouldn't a SM? Oh my goodness, St. Mary's BYU game be fun, or the old
That would be
WCC
so.
rematch? But
Yeah,
I feel like Alabama's gonna win though.
I do too. Speaking of fun matchups, I create a bracket of what I want to happen.
Ooh, there you go.
Can you imagine a BYU Kentucky Final Four matchup?
That would be sweet.
That would be legendary. I don't know if I want that to like that would be crazy to happen. And if BYU wins that game, if BYU wins a game like that, I'd be ecstatic. In
Yeah.
reality, I don't know if I'd want that to happen because my stress and my heart rate would just I would have a blood I'd blake bleh.
Yeah,
I'd blow a vessel. I can't even talk right now, but
I feel that. I just kind of penciled in
Duke,
Like,
Mississippi State, yeah,
yeah,
Duke over them, yeah, for sure.
I'm thinking Arizona over Oregon. I just think Arizona's a better team.
I think they
haven't seen
showed
Oregon play
out.
much
They've
this
showed
year.
out recently,
Yeah,
especially in the Big 12 tournament. Or I again, if Oregon can get past Liberty, which I think that game will be closer than most appear, I would not be surprised if Oregon could beat Arizona. If Oregon does beat Arizona, I think they could also beat Duke.
yeah,
So I would not be surprised if Oregon goes on a run to the Elite Eight. But I like Arizona. I would not be surprised, but I like Arizona too.
yeah. Plus, that Duke Arizona matchup would be a fun one. I think they've already played each other this year.
I think you're right.
Crushed
Yeah.
Arizona.
Yeah. I wouldn't say
not too
crushed.
bad.
Not
14.
too bad. 14. Yeah.
Okay. BYU, Wisconsin. I think we're pretty like. I mean, as much as I'd want to talk about it, Wisconsin, very good offensive team, not great with defense. I think VCU will be the toughest defensive team BYU has to play until the Elite Eight. So
Yes.
I feel very confident, more confident that BYU beats Wisconsin than BYU beats VCU.
Yes. I think a lot of media and analysts have said that.
Yeah.
And the more I look into VCU, how strong of a defense they are, in comparing to Wisconsin, if Wisconsin can get past Montana, I think they will. I'm not going to say I wouldn't be surprised if Montana beats Wisconsin, but I could potentially see that happening. But if it is a BYU Wisconsin matchup, I don't see BYU having any problems against Wisconsin.
Same. All right, BYU Bama. Shootout.
It is a shootout.
It's in Newark, so it's in New Jersey. BYU's gone from Denver. BYU struggled, usually struggles on the East Coast. I'll give you my take. I know you're high on BYU beating Bama. I actually think Bama beats BYU here, and the
Okay.
sole reason of that is I think just the East Coast. Like, I think BYU becomes complacent with reaching the Sweet 16. And honestly, if BYU reaches the Sweet 16 this year, I didn't want them to reach the round of 32, and I'll be happy. I could care less about what happened here.
I'd be very happy if they beat VCU.
And so I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on that BYU Bama game?
I am almost very confident that BYU can beat Alabama.
Yeah.
It's a whether of if they can beat them. Can they? I want to say BYU does beat Alabama. I think our defense is underrated. I wouldn't say severely underrated. I think our defense is underrated. I think we can outshoot Alabama. I think with Kevin Young as our head coach, the scheming will be at a higher level. Play calling, plays run to get Saunders, Nell, open 4 threes. I think that point in the tournament is where Jaeger can shine. he could show up and
Yeah.
be a dominant offensive player. Um, I don't know if there's been any update on catchings or not on his status. I think he should be good to go for the tournament.
I'm hoping so.
I'm hoping so as well. If he is good to go, or even if he misses out in the VCU game and they get past VCU and they're playing, he could. I can see him warming up
Yeah.
in the Wisconsin game. If they get past Wisconsin, just tearing up Alabama.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on that one as well.
But
Yeah,
however,
but Bama, I think, has a better offense. So,
I will go with Alabama. As much as it hurts me
yeah.
to say that, I can see the BYU heartbreak happening right there. I could see it being a very close game, like down to the wire. So I can go with Bama on that one.
Yeah. And then we got Duke, Arizona is our final Elite Eight matchup of the tournament. Um, Something keeps telling me Arizona. Like I think Duke would win that game, but I don't know. Arizona is
I
like,
think I think only 2 1s can make the Elite Eight. Do we have Houston making the Elite Eight?
Houston's in the Elite Eight,
Yes, they lose. We have them lose to Tennessee.
and we have
I
Florida
think
in there as well.
yeah. I can see I can see Duke losing to Arizona. So I am with you on leaning towards Arizona.
Yep.
Again, it goes back to the ACC just not being strong and the competition. I mean, preseason competition for Duke was great, but I feel like the the second half of the season kind of shows your true colors as a team, and they've been good, but not that good.
Yeah. All right. And then Arizona and Alabama. Um,
I'm a roll.
yeah. As much as I wanted to root for Tucson, um, yeah, roll tide.
I'm a roll. I don't think they could keep up with the offense.
And for as much hate as we gave the SEC, 3 of the final 4 teams are from Southeastern Conference.
Okay.
I kind of noticed that as we were going through. I'm like, I think we're going to get a good amount of SEC teams in there.
Here's the thing. Try not to sound like a biased BYU fan, but I would not be surprised if BYU one makes it to the Elite Eight or even the Final Four.
I think I'd be shocked.
They have to play their best basketball, obviously. I mean, everyone has to play their basketball in March, but I'd be shocked in terms of I can't believe this is happening, but knowing the team, who they are and what they can do, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. I think, yeah, they have the ability to catch fire. In fact, I'll be right back. When I went shopping on Saturday, had to buy the tater tots.
All hail the Tater Tot King.
Yep. The Richie Science.
Or the heir to the Tater Tot crown.
Yeah, there we go.
He's the heir.
Yeah. BYU could definitely catch fire again. I think they still have the fire. They've won 9 of their last 10. But yeah, I agree. I think we'll get more into BYU next time.
I think we could possibly put out a little show tomorrow on our thoughts for BYU pre their game tomorrow. Thursday.
I like that. Like a smaller.
Yeah, let's plan on that. We'll get that. We'll get a video out.
I like that. We'll maybe touch up on a couple of the other things we were planning on talking about today.
Yeah.
We'll throw that.
But let's wrap up this bracket. We're almost there.
I know. Final Four, San Antonio. Okay, we've come down to this. I think Florida is the best team remaining.
Yes,
So
I
think they
agree.
beat Michigan State.
I think that is probably the best game of the tournament up to in terms of competitiveness. That is, I think, will be, if that happens, that will be the best game of the tournament.
It'll be a fun one for sure. Here's where I think it gets fun. I think we see an SEC championship rematch.
Yes. I was saying the same thing. I don't think I've had this matchup in any of my brackets,
Same.
but I can see this happening. This would be peak basketball. This would be great. And I think Florida gets the crown.
Yeah,
Yeah?
I agree. I think I like Tennessee. I like their guard, Double Z. I don't remember. I know his initials are ZZ. I don't remember his name. But watching him play on Sunday, man, he looked good. Um, but I mean, Florida just is an all around a good team. So yeah, I think Florida over Tennessee. Um, Florida's only lost 4 games all year. They lost to Kentucky, Tennessee by 20, 64 to 44. Yikes. But yeah, I think Florida's a dominant team, and rematch. I think Florida proves fruitful again. I think Gators are chomping in Texas.
If it's not a Florida Tennessee, it's a Florida Houston matchup in the
Yeah,
championship.
I've seen that a lot. I kind of hope Florida doesn't make it to the championship, just because like that's kind of what so many people are predicting. But
Yeah, I've seen that a lot, which actually surprised me a little bit. I thought I would see a lot more Auburn or a lot more Duke. So I'm surprised by the amount of Florida I've seen as well.
yeah, I mean they're the number 4 overall seed, so they're the lowest 1 seed. If they would have lost that game to TCU, I think they would have been a 2 seed possibly.
Yeah.
But hey, Florida over
Florida over
Tennessee.
Tennessee. That's our champion.
There you have it.
We'll just see how terrible our picks are.
Yeah,
I'm very curious just off of the first round how this will stand up.
yeah. Real quick, I'm going to stop sharing while I enter my ESPN account so we can actually save this bracket.
You're good.
Um, but yeah, I like this bracket. I think. Now I got to remember what my password is. Here, we'll just do the send a one-time code. I'm so glad that this thing exists now, the one-time code stuff, because there are so many passwords I don't remember.
Oh, 100%. It is
Especially after the
lot.
mission. It's like it's been 2 years since I.
Yeah. I wonder I want to know your take on the first 4 matchups on if they, because I've heard a lot of controversy or a lot of takes on people saying they're great, they get us excited for the tournament, and others saying it's just a waste of time, just get us into the tournament.
Yeah. Um. Sorry, I'm just waiting on this email from ESPN, and it's not coming. It's kind of shocking me a little bit. But sorry, what was your question again?
You're good. The first 4 matchups, I have my own opinion. I've heard from multiple media analysts on mixed reviews of that it's great for the tournament, it's great for basketball. It allows a couple more teams to have a chance to make the actual bracket. It gets you ready for March. And others saying that it's just kind of a buzzkill. It's almost kind of like it gives me vibes. My point is I don't really like it, and it gives me vibes of the play-in for the NBA playoffs. Like I just find it dragging and time wasting in a sense. Like I just want the thing to just get going because it started today, but now I gotta wait for tomorrow for the second half of the first 4s to finish up, and then Thursday is when the whole thing kicks off.
Yeah.
Hey, there we go, confetti.
So yeah, there's a broadcast. I personally like it. I think it gives teams a chance to get on a run. Like we saw it with UCLA, they made it to the Final Four in large part because they squeaked out a win over Michigan State the first 4 back in 2021.
It's true.
I think it gives the 16 seeds an opportunity to win, a conference or to win a tournament game. Gets revenue for them. Um, they win just as much money as if they won a normal tournament game. And so I actually think, well, ultimately, I don't love it, but I think the tournament is going to be expanding here in the next couple of years. And I think what you'll see is a lot of these bubble teams become first four matchups, and there will be an extended first four.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll get more than just Dayton as a host site, and you'll see possibly all the 11 seeds and possibly all the 12 seeds. I think aside from the 16 seeds, as a conference champion, I think you set yourself apart and you say, okay, like we're not going to be in this first four. But I think a team like Memphis, or VCU, if they would have lost, then yeah, they would have been in the first four, and they would have had to fight their way to make it into the actual tournament. So I don't know. There's my take on the first four. Halfway through, obviously, if you haven't watched the Alabama State and St. Francis ending, that might have been one of the craziest endings I've ever seen in a tournament game, period. And I watched a lot of Danny Ainge coast-to-coast highlights over Notre Dame today at work. But yeah, I mean, there's our tournament right there. We'll give everyone one more look through it. But any final words really as we kind of get towards the end of it?
Oh, I think the bracket's looking pretty good. There's a couple that I think are going to definitely shock us. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple that we talked about that we went 50-50 on. But I think wrapping up this episode, that this looks like a good bracket.
Yeah, I'm excited. I like our picks a lot. Oops, almost went too high. There we go. There's the top of that bracket. Yeah, there's our bracket. BYU to the Sweet 16, losing to Bama, roll tide, make it to the Final Four. Yeah, there you have it. It's going to be a fun tournament. We're going with Florida here on the Scoreboard Sports podcast. If you would like to join or create a league, we've got an Instagram page you can follow. Scoreboard Sports Podcast, I believe, is what it's called, or just Scoreboard Sports?
Scoreboard Sports, yeah.
Yep. And that's Scorebird. No birds in our Final Four. Nope. But we got an elephant, a dog, a gator, and a Spartan.
If there was a bird to make it and win, St. John's is... Their mascot is a bird, but they're the Red Storm.
Yeah.
Their mascot is like a bird. If we're going off of bird mascots,
probably Oregon.
Yeah.
The Ducks.
Oregon, as far as the physical bird being the mascot in the name, I would go Oregon in terms of the physical
bird we have advancing. I guess Kansas as well.
Kansas, yeah. Kansas definitely getting there. Scoreboard's Sports bird champion is the Oregon Ducks, so honorary champion. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, that is another episode of the Scoreboard Sports Podcast. If you've missed any of our previous episodes, that you can find us on Spotify and YouTube. And we'll be back tomorrow with our BYU preview over VCU, Wisconsin, Alabama, Duke. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe AJ was right.
Maybe.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for us today. Shout out to Major League Baseball. We're back in action, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Donnie was blazed enough by Fox, so we won't do any of that today. But I'm excited to see Roki Sasaki pitch tomorrow. We'll have more on that tomorrow. But Connor?
Yeah.
Any final words?
No. Well, like you said, we'll touch on BYU's path, on where our hopes are. We just showed you what we think collectively, but we'll hit on that a little more. And yeah, I think we'll get into some baseball talk tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. Well, there it is, everyone. Peace out, and we will see you all tomorrow.